Folks, you got to understand that when it comes to the Trump regime, everything is about cosplay, and everything is about intimidation, and everything is about forcing their way of life onto the rest of us. They can't actually win with their ideas because they really don't have ideas of any substance or inequality. What they win on is their rage. They win by stirring up hatred, and they win by stirring up as much rage amongst their voters as they possibly can. One shtick that will always work with the American voter is if you just constantly complain about how bad shit is. Because truthfully, shit's been bad for years. It truly has. People have struggled for years. We have had a bad economy for a long time. We've had people struggling in that economy for a long time. There's times that it's worked better for people. It's always worked better for people at the top, but there's times where we've done a little bit better here and there. But overall, people have just grown up in a world that they can't survive in. And so that shtick of this country's in the shitter and none of us can make it and everything is always bad is always going to work. And something else that's always going to work is when they try to steer that anger and they try to steer that resentment toward people that their base doesn't like, or their people doesn't understand, or their people just flat out hates. It always works if you stand back and say, hey, they are taking your job. They are coming for your children. It's always the mysterious they. But really, whatever they are doing, they're projecting onto the rest of us. And Kamala Harris, I don't have the clip with me, but Kamala Harris did say that if we elected Trump, he would have the guard on the streets. The military would be on the streets. Everybody said, she's hyperbolic. He would never do that. And we heard them go on and on and on about states' rights. But now he wants to push the guard out there. He was going to go to Chicago, but the people of Chicago stood up against him. Now he's going to head down to Memphis because our governor here in Tennessee will love the theatrics and will encourage that type of theatrics, and it's absolute bullshit. But I want to play you this clip here of Tim Walz, and we'll play this one together and watch it together because he just brings out how ridiculous this all is and how that this is Donald Trump cosplaying as a soldier that he never had the balls to be himself. Take a look.
That we want to make sure that crime is down. It is, but we can always do better. They should be partners with us. Just this week, they cut our counterterrorism funding, money that we could use to protect schools. We could use it to help fund our police, making sure we could hire more. But I'll tell you what doesn't make people feel safe: a tank next to Chipotle. It's stupid, and it's for the cameras, and you can get into the legal aspect of posse comitatus, but it's foundational. So I keep saying, Jen, where are the don't tread on me people? We were told for years that we needed to be prepared about an overbearing federal government that would step in over local control and actually put troops on the streets. I mean, where are those people? And I would just ask them to rise up. And this isn't the way things should be done. And again, he doesn't really have any interest in stopping the crime. If he did, he would go with the professionals. He would listen to local law enforcement. He would coordinate with us. I will tell you, we do have a great example, and this is why some of our institutions are still holding. We got a U.S. attorney out here who's a great partner, doing good work for us on many fronts, and that's because he coordinates with state agencies, coordinates with local officials. That's what we should be doing. This for the camera, I'm a big, tough guy. I also said, Jen, on that, and I'm still going to hold to this. I still think at some points he puts on a military uniform because it's just cosplaying with his administration, whether Kristi Noem's dressing up as one thing or another. But come out here and help us. We don't disagree with you that there's more that we can do, but what you're prescribing is nothing but vengeance and photo ops. That's not helping anybody. So here in Minnesota, we're going to continue to work on it. We want people to be secure in their persons, secure in their families, secure in their economics. He's doing nothing to help on any of those fronts. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to do this again. And there's a lot of people that are getting engaged. We got a special election tonight, as you said. XP is going to win that race. This is an immigrant family that came from a refugee camp, came here and built a life, respected in his community, and he is going to step into that position that Melissa Hortman held. And you know what? Years down the line, we're going to be talking about XP doing good work for his community because it's what the voters want.
Folks, he's spot on right there. And if Donald Trump really wanted to work with people, he would. But he's too busy talking about the radical left lunatics. He can't even wish anyone a Merry Christmas without throwing in the radical left lunatics. He doesn't actually want to fix any of the problems. It's always been about theatrics. Remember back when he said, don't pass the border bill, don't fix the border problem, I want to fix it? Well, here he is now, putting the guard on the streets, and he thinks in his mind that's fixing it. No, that's stoking the flames, that's turning up the temperature, that's dividing people. And if you have to resort to that to get people to live under your way of thinking, then it definitely mirrors authoritarianism. And I've said, and I know people may get tired of me doing it, but I'm doing it for a reason. I am defining these words every time I say them, because I don't want people to think I'm just throwing them out there for no reason. We could sit back, and Tim Walz is right. Where is the don't tread on me crowd now? Why aren't they saying anything about what's going on right now? Why aren't they saying anything about an authoritarian government, which by definition is favoring strict obedience to authority, especially at the expense of personal freedom? I don't want to walk down the streets in Memphis and be surrounded by the military. I don't want that, and I don't know of anyone that does. There's so many ways that Donald Trump could go about working together, but if he actually said, hey, we're going to work together with Democrats, we're going to reach across the aisle, if he said that, he would lose his base, because, folks, they do not want a lighter version of Donald Trump. They do not want someone who's going to be reasonable. They don't want to go back to the old school Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney style of Republican. That will not sell in this era. What sells is that rage. What sells is that pushing the flames of hatred. That's what sells to MAGA. That's what they latch on to. And it's absolutely disgusting to see them sit back and support fascism, but I just want to remind you that fascism is a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition. Forcibly suppressing opposition. That's what's going on when they say we're going to come after anybody that criticizes Charlie Kirk. We're going to come after anybody that opposed him, and regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive on nationalism and often racism. Folks, we're not saying these words and pointing these things out to get clicks. We're pointing them out because it's the truth and because there are better ways of going about it. And I could say to anyone on the right that, yes, we do have a problem with crime. Yes, we would like to see it worked on. Yes, we would like to see our city safer. We would like to feel safer when we walk down the street. But at the moment, I don't feel safe when I see a vice president going on and encouraging people to dox other people and saying there will be no unity with the radical left. Now, I know there's some people out there that's going to say, well, now, he said there'll be none with the radical left. He never separated the two. They never say we have decent Democrats or decent liberals or decent people on the left. Anyone who opposes them, anyone who disagrees with them, is automatically labeled a radical left lunatic. We get called the enemy from within. We get told that we should be rooted out like the vermin. And when we go back and say where quotes like that came from, they get upset and say, how dare you compare him to that? Well, we're only doing it because it mirrors that, not because we're trying to have a one-up moment. And the National Guard on the street, I mean, we heard for years them talk about states' rights. Now that crowd is crickets, or now that crowd is sitting back cheering it on. And so that's why when I see the Don't Tread on Me flag, or I see it on a tag on somebody's car, I do not take that person seriously. I do not think they honestly believe in that, because if you honestly believed in that slogan and that idea that you do not want the government to tread on you, then you would not want that government to tread on people coming here to make a better way for themselves and to do the jobs that you don't want to do. You wouldn't tread on people who have a different color of skin as you. You wouldn't tread on different people who loves differently than you do. You wouldn't hate on people whose lifestyle you don't understand. You would live and let live. So they can sit over here and they can scream, don't tread on me all day long, and I'm just going to be over here saying, hey, how about we live and let live? How about you go ahead and be the asshole you want to be and just keep it over there, and the rest of us will live our lives the best way that we know how, and you leave us the hell alone. That's the most simplest way I can think to put it. But folks, these people are the ultimate hypocrites. There's never been a bigger bunch of them ever. And if there had have been an absolute catastrophe, if there had been an absolute catastrophe and Joe Biden had said, you know what, I think I'm going to have to send in the guard, you would see Hannity and you would see Jesse Waters and you would hear, and Trump would be on his account right now screaming to the top of his lungs how that, oh my God, he's sending the troops to the streets. This is 1930s Germany. They would be saying it, screaming it from the rooftops. But when it's Donald Trump cosplaying, they're okay with it. And when he cosplays as a soldier and he uses our military in a cosplay moment, it is a slap in the face of anyone who ever put on that uniform and anyone who ever died for our country. That we got a draft dodger that now wants to flex like he's some kind of general. And he's actually on tape talking about Kim Jong-un and how he got rough with his people. Maybe I'll have to get rough with mine. That's not the American way. It's never been the American way. And I will always be sitting here calling it out. And I truly do appreciate all of you for supporting what I do here. I'm just a guy reacting to the news. I'm reacting to the things that I see, and I point to the things that don't make sense and try to make sense of it. That's what I do. And so it's a full-time job now because the world is just that crazy. All I ever set out to do in this world was be a singer, be a songwriter, just sit somewhere. And I didn't go to Nashville to chase the dream. I had no desire to do that. I didn't want to go. I'm one of the few musicians that was like, nah, y'all can have that. All I want to do is just sit over here in some dive bar somewhere, just play my guitar, sing the songs about the life I lived, and if somebody relates to it and raises the glass or buys me a beer, then cool. That's all I ever wanted to do. But I couldn't sit there taking tips to play another Eagles song while the world burned down around me. So here we are. I'm trying to make sense of it the best way that I can. But in MAGA's America, there is no making sense of it in their America. But I just want to say it's not their America. It's our America. It's everyone's. And they can put their sick and twisted and perverted spin on it, and they can mirror 1930s Germany if they want to. But the rest of us will be, when this is all over, and we're looking back on it, and we're trying to make sense of it. I can honestly say, without any doubt of ever being proven wrong, that we are on the right side of history, and don't ever lose sight of that.